Whether you play basketball, futsal, netball, or even tennis, the requirements from your shoe are exactly the same. Given I play basketball, I'll be using my basketball shoes, for example, but the same rules apply no matter what sport you play. Heel strike and reach. First, some evolutionary context. Now I'm only guessing here, but I'm going to say back when we were evolving, we were probably doing a little bit of hunting, maybe some fishing, maybe some gathering, putting together fires, moving camps, climbing trees, you know, basic caveman stuff. But I'm pretty certain we didn't spend any time doing the movements and the patterns that we see in modern day sport. How do I know this? Well, take off your athletic shoe and try and do the same sharp cuts, moves, twists and turns in bare feet and see how you go. As humans, we evolved in bare feet on uneven surfaces, you know, navigating creek beds and jumping and running over rocks and climbing trees and cool stuff like that. And sure, our ancestors would have loved a sweet pair of Nikes or Asics to help them do that, but that just wasn't an option. Until now, and now we're playing these court sports with high friction coefficient surfaces and these grippy shoes that allow us to perform these intense, sharp cutting movements that just weren't an option before. So now the reason you're here. What shoe is actually the best? Let's start with the basic rules and the fundamentals and then expand from there. I think first, you want a shoe that's reasonably light. A lighter shoe is going to be better. Next, you want a solid controlling upper so it keeps the foot on top of the sole so when you cut, it doesn't slide off to the side. And then third, you want a good sole with good strong coefficient so it's got lots of friction and lots of surface area so when it grabs on the ground, it will grab and it won't slide and slip. Now that's pretty basic though. Most shoes have already covered and ticked off those boxes when it comes to court sports. Once they've cleared that, we've then got 3 basic rules or tests that our shoes have to pass. Number one is a solid heel up. The shoe should be low through the heel so that foot sits snug down into the shoe, and then this should be pretty rigid and pretty firm. These are Kobe 4s, 5s? I've had these forever, but nice and solid through there, so that's going to keep my heel locked into the shoe down the bottom. Rule number 2 is the shoe needs to have what's called a toe break. So that means the shoe should bend through the toe. When we work through the gait cycle, we roll off, and that last push, when we push into the ground, that's where the big toe is flexed and working into the ground. Now these shoes, it's actually not that good. The toe break is kind of more down here through the middle of the mat, so I would like that shoe to flex more through the toe joint there instead. So that one fails that test. And then the third rule is the shoe should have good torsion resistance. So you don't want the shoe to flex through the middle. You want it to be pretty rigid through the center of the shoe. Now this one's got some fancy carbon fiber or something in it, and that provides good stiffness so that when you cut and move sideways in the shoe, it doesn't collapse and roll. It provides some support and stability. And to finish, a couple of extras. The first, visible air bubbles in the shoe, in the sole. The thing with the sole is if you land appropriately on the air, hang on, let me. So if you land straight down on top of the air bubble, that's great. That's how it's supposed to work. It cushions the force and it spreads evenly through the air bubble. What happens though is if you land a little bit wrong, or a lot wrong, what you get is this situation here where if you land just a little bit to the side, that air bubble, because it's moving and can move under the foot, you squish down further this way, the air shoots that way, and you get this exaggeration where the air bubble actually becomes like an ankle roll enhancer. It pushes you further into that little roll and turning little rolls potentially into big rolls. So It's fine if you're perfect, but never in sport are we perfect. Instead, we have this situation like this, where that visible air bubble pushes you further into your ankle roll into that poor position. And the second basketball problem when it comes to shoes is a high top. Now the high top, the theory is it provides ankle support, but the research doesn't suggest it. If you're gonna roll that ankle good and proper, a high top shoe isn't gonna be enough to stabilize. It might provide the feeling and the placebo of stability, but it's not actually providing any real structural integrity to that ankle. What it is doing though, is it's creating what's called dopey ankle syndrome, where it's kind of like blinkers on a horse, where it's inhibiting those peroneals and those intrinsic muscles around the ankle and the foot, preventing them from doing their job properly. Okay, so now the thing you're actually really here to watch. Which actual shoe should you wear? I think the Kobe series by Nike is pretty good. This is one of the older models and it's not perfect with its average toe break, but the Nike Kobe's are pretty good. The Kyrie's are good. Under Armour do a pretty good low cut shoe these days. I think Asics Netburner is underrated as a basketball shoe as well. It doesn't really matter, just something that's comfortable and that fits into those rules I mentioned before is pretty good.